Hey, everybody. Super excited to be here today with none other than my favorite oldest child, Allie Bullock, who most of you in the Remax world, well, not just Remax, really anybody that's ever bought or sold a home with us in the past 10 years knows Allie. She does everything from the team. She's now been elevated to team manager, but she does everything from the closings to client retention, our client parties. Really, she is my boss, quite literally, and does everything behind the scenes. So she is very apt with the real estate market, has seen all the trials and tribulations, has seen good, bad, and ugly. And today, she is going to tell us some ugly with why you need, as a consumer, to interview an agent before you buy a home. So this is not for sellers. We're going to do a second one for sellers. This one is going to be focused on buyers and why it is important for you to know what you need to know about your agent, what you need to ask your agent, and why, with some kind of scary stories of real life events that have happened in 2024. So, Allie, hi.
Hi, I'm very excited to be here. I definitely, I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so I apologize. But I feel passionate about this because I think this is by far the biggest investment anyone is ever going to make. And I don't want you to be the guinea pig. I have learned I have a unique perspective of being able to oversee all of our listings on top of everything we have under contract. Along with training new agents. So my perspective is on all kind of aspects. So we have cultivated, different things that we think would be very beneficial for you to ask your buyer's agent. So starting off with, it is extremely important to know how many homes that your agent has sold in that city. The reason I think a lot of buyers come in and they say, well, how many homes have you sold in general? That is great, but each city has a very different and particular market. And if they do not know the nuances and the things to look out for, they cannot adequately protect you.
Right. And so some of those things along those lines would be knowing that a new highway in the next 5 years is going to go in your backyard. Really important. But guess what? We're in Wilmington, North Carolina. If you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, are you licensed in North Carolina? Yes. Legally, you are licensed. You can sell a home. But one of the top 29 reasons why agents have lost their license in 2024 is by not knowing that specific area. It's very important to have a home inspector in that area, to have an appraiser in that area, but also to know what is happening specifically to that area.
Yeah.
And we just recently, what was your story?
So kind of leading into that, a lot of, not necessarily a story, but a perspective that's kind of offered is that a lot of times newer agents, they come in and experience, whether they could be a seasoned agent who's in it 20 years, has never sold a home, let's say in Topsail Beach, or we're having beach erosion issues. And they come in and they're like, oh, well, the listing agent will tell me. And that is the biggest pitfall of on the buyer side of things is, yes, listing agents are held to a certain degree, but some agents just don't know. And it is your job as a buyer's agent to have that baseline knowledge that sometimes Google won't tell you. So one perspective we had a listing and an agent called me and said, well, I Googled it and Google told me that the neighborhood offers blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
It was all wrong.
Yeah. I'm like, so Google is great and it's a tool to use, but would I go to a heart surgeon who Googled how to do it? No. So it was a learning perspective though, is that an agent felt confident enough in the answer to tell me their source of information,
Yeah.
but that was propelling their buyer's decision. So,
Well, or I had a listing where an agent owns her own company. She is the broker in charge of that company. She's never sold a house in North Carolina, not one. She had 7 years experience in a different state. It took her rewriting that offer 4 times. Four times, just a standard offer to purchase. She did not know how to write. She didn't understand due diligence. It was scary, and I would have been very scared if I was her buyer. Of course, we helped her navigate through the process. However, as a buyer, it's very important that you are not that guinea pig.
Yeah.
Holy cow, it could be catastrophic to you and your future, honestly. So other than in that area, what other things? You need to know how many homes, do they live in that city, how long they've lived in that city, and how many houses have they sold in that city?
So kind of leading into that. So yes, we also would want to know how many homes sold year to date. The biggest downfall we are seeing, and agents are marketing, and now it's strategic on the agent side of it. I've sold 1,200 homes, or probably not 1,200, but let's say 150 homes. And then when you ask them, and I see this on the interviewing side of it, I'm like, great. So I looked you up, no production this year, no production last year. What year are we talking? And it's during COVID year, where if you had a pulse and a real estate license, you had sales. Things change. Things change right now. We are on a quarterly change. And I'm talking not just market trends, but true like documents, strategic ways that negotiations are taking place, not just for you as an agent, but for you as the buyer. And it is very pivotal. If your agent hasn't sold any homes or sold 2 homes at the beginning of this year, I absolutely guarantee you they have no idea, not realistic, in time experience of how these changes have affected you as the buyer. And that is a very catastrophic thing, to be the guinea pig of that agent's negligence.
Yeah. In certain areas, there'll be certain things on a home inspection that you should be, that like in our area, moisture in a crawl space. It's very common. It's important for you as the agent to know that, to be able to recognize that in a house prior to an inspection. And I'm certainly not a home inspector, and I don't pretend to be, but I've sold a lot of homes and I've been in a lot of homes, and I am able to identify some of those problems. The problem is, if you have a brand new agent that can't identify those problems up front, say you're a first time home buyer, you have $5,000. That's your working capital to buy a home. Okay, let's think through this. You write a check for $2,000 for due diligence. That's non-refundable. You write a check for, and I'm just making these numbers up, this is all hypothetical. You give $1,000 for earnest money. Okay, now we're 3,000 in. You do another $650 to $700 on a home inspection. Okay, got another $600 on an appraisal. If you see where I'm going, quickly that money's gone. Now you do the home inspection only to find out you have a river running under your house, which we're in a moisty, sandy, warm environment, so that can happen. Now, on my end, when I go in, I am going to say, hey, these are some things I see that is an indication that there could potentially be a problem. Now, you as a homeowner, you have a choice, right? Well, who cares, Jennifer? I'm a licensed general contractor. I can fix it. Great. Or, holy cow, thank you for letting me know, because if I didn't let them know, they could have lost that $5,000 through the process.
Well, and here's the thing too. I think the perspective we have is it is not our part-time job. It is our full-time.
Which is another thing you should ask.
Yes, but it is our full-time profession. And the element of expertise we're able to provide is during showings. And this is something that I have, obviously she's my mom, so my whole life I've heard, but something we really take to heart on our team is our job is to take this rose-colored glasses off. It is to say, hey, I know you love 123 Main Street, and if this is the home you want, we will execute it. But let me tell you the things I am seeing that could potentially impact your buyability. And I have found, and I know in this year has been an anomaly of a year with all the real estate commission changes. We have seen agents, we've had listings, truly holes in the floor, things that VA, again, we are not lenders, but in our experience, VA appraisers are not going to let this fly. And they'll submit a VA offer. And I'm like, so have you, this isn't going to go for VA. And they're like, well, how do you know? And it's, I think my perspective shift is taking the time to slow down and say, these agents truly don't know. Let's help them and educate them, so that way clients are, receiving the level of service they need to have. But the scary thing on the consumer side is, if your agent is calling the listing agent to ask for them to explain how the VA process works.
And most listing agents aren't going to tell you, because they wanted to get an offer on it.
Yes, but how could they, that they can't represent you to the best of your ability. Your best bet is to find someone who has done VA, closings, who has the experience in your city, who does it full time, who truly is able to give you the level of service you're able to provide. I tell everyone this, even in my friends. Not every agent is created equally. My best story of this is agents one of my neighbors, and I tell the story all the time. They know I do. It's they've become really good friends. But whenever they were buying their home, we had just moved in, we had a neighborhood party, and they're telling me that their agent had sold 20 homes in the neighborhood. And I thought, very interesting, because I'd never known the agent. And I'm very up to date with my neighborhood. So I was like, yeah, let's go look up her production. And we looked it up. She'd never sold a home before. And the reason that impacted them was because new construction, you have what's called a blue tape walkthrough. So they, literally take a roll of blue tape. The agent was so worried about getting her commission. She said, we don't need to do it. We don't need to do it, and was pushing it. So Alex and Tess, if you're watching this, I'm definitely talking about you. But they were like, hey, Allie, can you come with me? Because I'm concerned my agent's just trying to push it to closing. And that did, seem to be the case. Okay. But the aspect of that was that there are aspects with new construction and
hold on, for that exact person, the cabinets were all wrong.
Yeah, and they were trying to push it to closing. And I was like, well, actually, the contract states these are the cabinet options, and if there are any changes.
So keep in mind, they had Allie negotiating everything and fixing everything that their original agent couldn't do, didn't know how to do, couldn't navigate through, didn't have the experience or the articulation to get it done. And
hadn't experienced a new construction closing. And in a new construction closing, there are, processes to go. But yes, and I did leave that out. But that was the true, not all agents are created equally, knowing what type of home you're buying, how many they have actually done new construction, manufactured homes, condos, beach homes, second investments, things like that.
Or the type of loan, a VA loan, a FHA loan, an investment property, an Airbnb. They all have different qualifications. And you need to make sure that the agent that you choose to hire is qualified in that area. Secondly, I wouldn't take unfortunately, I wouldn't take what they say at face value, because just in her story, when we looked up the production. Secondly, if you're an agent, don't lie. Well, it's trackable. Everything, it's 100% trackable. And you really lose credit if you say I've sold 20 homes in the neighborhood, and we could see that you've never sold a home ever, not in that neighborhood or anywhere else. It's all trackable. So be careful what you say. Make sure as an agent, you're being honest and truthful. As a consumer, verify what they say.
And then a third, and I'm sorry, that was kind of a ramble, so I apologize on that. That was just something that was so eye-opening to me and really made me double down on, even if just the general consumers, things you just don't know. And this isn't, buying a bike for your kids. This is something that is arguably the most important investment in your life. So leading into second section, or not second, whatever section we're on now, what association do they belong to? And the reason that is
and association, meaning the MLS association.
Yes. So the reason that is important is recently, and this has driven me insane, we have right now, I believe we have 20 active listings. We have had a lot of agents, and I can't even make this up, call me because they can't get into the house. And so they're calling me. We had two sections of it.
So what that means is, keep in mind, if you're not a member of the Catesville Board of Realtors, which is our local chapter of the MLS, if you're not a member of the board, you might be able to show houses in Raleigh. However, you cannot show houses here. So you can't get into the home to see it, to allow your buyers to see it, for the home inspection, for the appraisal, for whatever. That is minimally. You can't open the damn door.
And then leading into that, you also can't access the MLS. So
can't pull comps.
What was an interesting perspective was I had an agent, and I can't even make this up. We had a listing. There were multiple offers, and our job to represent our sellers to the best of our abilities. And we will always do that. When you hire us, you are getting the level of experience that comes with our volume and our commitment to you as a client. So I will never, if someone needs access to a home, I will physically show up and open the door, because I'm not going to limit, the views we get on the home or potential offers. But I had an agent call because they couldn't get into the lockbox. Again, weren't associated with our association. So I drove down there, and we go down there and we leave. She calls me and she's like, so they want to write an offer. And I was like, great. She's like, can you send me comps to justify your sales price, because I can't get into it. Regardless of this, my first alarming thought was, the buyer has no idea. The buyer has no idea that you are contacting the listing agent who represents the seller to say, can you give me comps to back the offer I'm going. So then anyway, it did get accepted. We provided comps, whatever, we move forward. We get into the negotiation aspect and she says, hey, Allie, my broker in charge won't answer. And we get an inspection and I don't know what we should ask for. And they send me the inspection report and I'm like, huh, okay.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we do represent the sellers.
Yeah, so it was this, in this experience, this transaction, right? I am learning buyer has no idea. This is the person representing them. This is when you are hiring an agent, it is an extension of yourself to negotiate and represent. When your agent is saying, I can't even do the bare minimum opening the door, you've lost all negotiation ability.
Okay, so along those same lines, I had a buyer that was looking in Sunset Beach in Oak Island area. They ended up buying in Oak Island. But one of the houses I was trying to show was not in the MLS. They kept finding it on Zillow and Realtor, but I couldn't find it in our local MLS. Turns out they were a licensed agent in Asheville, North Carolina, which is 6 hours from here. I just can't make some of the stuff up. So as a seller, yes, I'm licensed in North Carolina. If you called me to sell your house in Asheville, I would tell you my good friend, Margaret Vestal, lives in Asheville. She knows Asheville. She's a member of that board. I would recommend somebody in that location. But if I can't put you in the MLS, how can I sell your house? Not only that, I can't put a lockbox on the door that everybody in our association can access.
Well, the failure, I think, on the agent side of it, and this is the reason agents don't do it, it is a financial investment to be a part of our association. The reason our association has that is saying, hey, you need to believe in yourself as an agent enough to financially invest. And what I always tell clients is saying, hey, your agent doesn't believe in their ability to sell a home in your area enough to put a yearly financial investment in it. And that should tell you what it needs to tell you. And I think it debilitates you as a buyer. You lose all negotiability. There are certain things and updates that we are privy to being a part of the Cape Fear Association, but it's also why production does come into play. And I tell everyone this, there will never be a time that we do not put our clients' best interests first.
100%.
Meaning if you decide, you want to look in Raleigh or Charlotte, I'm not going to lie.
We have
no
referrals
idea.
there. We will refer you to
Yes.
the best agent in that area. Now, I've lived in Raleigh for 3 years, back in 1990.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that I know that market and understand that market. I'm going to send you to one of my Raleigh professionals that focus on that area. Same for us here. So just in kind of summing it up, we could go on forever. But I would say you need to ask specifically, do they live in the city of which they're selling? How long have they lived there? How many homes they have sold year to date? How many homes they've sold in that city year to date? Focusing on you as the buyer. Are you VA, FHA? Is you an investor? What are you buying? And so not only location, you want to know how many investment properties they've sold, how many Airbnbs they've sold, how many FHA or VA loans that they've dealt with that year. You also want to make sure that they are a member of the MLS in that area, right? Whatever that area may be. And that, I think, it seems pretty trivial, not trivial, it seems pretty basic, but on our end, we are seeing kind of mouth dropping, eye opening things happening that is pretty scary for you as the consumer. So definitely take 10 minutes, really vet your agent.
In a year that I would arguably say this is the most important year as an agent to show your value, listen to the value your agent is telling you and take them at face value of it. This is not the time that you want to be the guinea pig. This isn't the time that Billy Bob Joe, your best friend, just got into real estate. You love them enough to save your relationship. And maybe they can obtain a referral fee. But
boom, boom, boom. That's the key. That's the key, right? Keep those relationships by not hiring them. It just could be catastrophic to you. So just take the time. It's a 5-minute conversation. Interview them more deeply than saying how much do you charge. That is an interview question as well, but you need to know their professionalism. You need to know if they're a full-time or part-time agent. Oh, we've got that one. That's a whole nother issue. But anyway, to be continued. Our next segment is going to be for sellers. What you need to interview, what kind of questions you need to ask for sellers. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. We are your Wilmington, North Carolina expert and surrounding areas. And when I mean that, we go the 3 counties associated with Wilmington, but we go within 45 minutes of Wilmington. So we do all the Brunswick County beaches, Holden Beach, Southport, Sunset Beach, Oak Island, of course, Wilmington, Wrightsville Beach, Carolina Beach, that's within our county. And then,
but you don't even have to worry, because if we don't service those areas,
we're going to let
we
you
will
know.
let you know, and
And-
we'll connect you with a great agent.
Yeah,
whatever area
and
you're
we
looking for.
have agents across the United States and Canada, working on other countries. But right now, we have got just about every city, every state. We have got somebody that we have worked with personally. We've met, we've vetted them for you. So just give us a call. We're here to help.